Welcome back to Don't Breathe on Me. Today is April 26th. My name is Abram Hurt.
And my name is Ezra Hurt.
We're two brothers in Brownsburg, Indiana, staying at home and keeping our social distance.
I know I'm doing my part in flattening the curve. I haven't left the house in 46 days except to go on walks.
I think I've left the house 4 times since this has all been happening, and I'm on day 44 of growing my quarantine beard. By the time this is all over, I might actually have a beard. But let's transition to an update over the coronavirus.
Sure thing. Governor Eric Holcomb extended Indiana's stay-at-home order to May 1st. As of Sunday, over 15,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus, and over 800 have died. From CDC data released Friday, over 895,000 Americans have tested positive for the virus, and over 50,000 have lost their lives.
This past week, Holcomb said the state will begin taking steps to reopen the economy as testing continues to expand and businesses put practices in place to make sure employees and customers will be safe. That's our update for this episode, and we'll continue to give them in our future episodes.
This week, we did our first outside interview for the show.
We had the opportunity to talk to our family friend, Brad Murray, and see how he's navigating the coronavirus pandemic.
Welcome to our first official interview. Today is April 23rd, and today's guest is Brad Murray. Mr. Murray, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm Brad Murray, and I work for I actually own a company called Inspire Marketing. What else do you want to know?
Just tell us a little bit about your family and things you like to do, I guess.
Yeah, so I live in Brownsburg, Indiana, with my family of 7. My wife, Jen, and I have been together since high school in 1996. We got married in 2002, and we have quadruplet boys who are 13 years old. And then we have a little boy named Hudson who's 3. Yeah, so that's me.
Okay. What did a normal workday look like before the pandemic for you?
Yeah, so before the pandemic, I work from home anyway. And so before all this started, I probably spent half my week in my office, and the other half I was out meeting with clients and going to networking meetings. And part of my job is to get business for Inspire Marketing. We do mostly websites and digital marketing. So I would go out and meet with those folks and be out a lot. And of course, that's not the way it is now.
Thank you. So how has your normal workday changed, and what does it look like now?
Sure. So my normal workday, of course, like most of the world, is stuck in my home office now. I don't leave. I do a lot of Zoom calls and all the different platforms, from Google to Zoom to a free online meeting. Everybody's got a different platform they're using. But I'm still trying to accomplish all the same goals, and I'm actually strangely busier than I was prior to Corona kind of shutting the world down. We've been very fortunate to take on some new clients. So just continuing to make a lot of phone calls and work on websites and communicating with the team remotely.
So how has the coronavirus altered your family life, and what's going on there?
Yeah, so we had 4 6th graders going off to school every day and a 3-year-old home with us. My wife and I both work from home. And so she and I would trade off and give each other opportunities to work. I work most of the time during the school day. But now we have kids home all day, like a lot of people do. And but at 6th grade, their school has actually taken e-learning in stride, maybe better than most. And so we've been really fortunate to to really do well in the midst of it. But it has certainly made the house louder and busier. And I am easily distracted as a person anyway. And so it's been a lot easier to get distracted by family life going on. So yeah, that's kind of how my work day has changed. And I probably work more hours now. I'm here all the time now, and so I find myself back in my office more often because the daytime used to be a lot different because no one was here, and then everybody showed up after school or we had activities to do, and so that was a natural break in the day that made me need to go do something else a lot of times where it just feels the same all day long other than getting dark on us. So that has definitely changed.
You've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but what are some of the struggles and benefits of working at home during the pandemic?
Sure. I've been surprised really in the midst of it what some of those things are. So some of the advantages are we do and I always considered our family one that said no to a lot of things, and so we maybe aren't as busy as some, and whether it's sports or whatever it is, but we still did basketball and soccer and all those kinds of things, and so it's been a really refreshing time where it's predictable. There's nothing to go do. And so that's been really positive for family life. But then, the challenges are that you really do. I'm a personality that really loves, I'm an extrovert. I love to spend time with other people, and Zoom is helpful, but it is just not the same. And so I have really struggled with that. And I would have assumed that I would have struggled with sales because of that, because I really feel like face to face across a table is when I am at my best from a sales standpoint. But our sales have gone better than ever the last few weeks. I don't know if that'll continue, but sales have actually gone quite well in the midst of it.
Great. Thanks for that. As you said, you own your own business. What are some of the struggles of operating your own business during this time?
Yeah, so it's really a hard thing. I mean, I guess it's always true that we don't always know where our income's going to come from 2 months from now, a month from now. But it's particularly unsettling right now with the economy doing with the economy doing what it's not doing, and for a lot of the economy being shut down like this. I've been surprised that it's gone so well in the first month here, month and a half. But I don't know what that's going to look like. So there are some definitely some uncertainties, and then usually I set some boundaries as far as how much time I spend on work, and I still have some of those boundaries, but I really feel a pressure to take every bit of work that we can take right now, because it seems like there could be a time coming where work might be lean, and so I want to be willing to do what we can to sort of make hay while we can. So that's definitely been a change.
All right. What is the federal and state government doing to support small businesses right now? Have you looked into using any of these resources?
Yeah, so like most people, as a family of seven, we got a somewhat substantial stimulus check. So that is helpful, really worrisome for me, just with the level of debt that our country has already. I worry that every dollar that they send to us is devaluing the dollars we already have, but yet I don't have a simple answer. I'm not saying it's not the right thing, but it's troubling to me. What's that going to look like? We did go ahead and apply for this program, the payroll protection, whatever, the PPP thing. And we are just not sure whether we got it or not. We've heard of some folks that have gotten funded already for that to try to cover payroll for a couple of months. And we got some sort of a confirmation number that says that we got in on that first batch. But so far it's not been funded, and it's a little unclear. I think they're just so overwhelmed. It's hard to communicate and find out, did we get any of those things? But I feel that our leaders, both at the state and federal level, are doing what they can. None of us expected this, and so I'm just trying to pretend like they're not going to help us, and do everything I can do in my power to support us. And then if we get help, we get help.
You've already answered this question, kind of, but what are some of the struggles and benefits of having your family at home 24/7?
Yeah, so struggles are got 5 kids that need entertained, right? I mean, so it's hard to know. Our pastor let us have a ping pong table, and with 5 kids, it's actually a real advantage, I think, over some families that have less kids at home, maybe one kid at home, or they're spread out a lot, so they don't naturally maybe work together or entertain each other as well. The advantage of having quadruplets is they have somebody that they can play ping pong with and play basketball with and play games with, and then they've surprised me and done a lot of reading. I mean, I had some readers anyway, but all four of them have done a lot of reading. So that's been, it's a challenge, but and we're a little bit stir crazy, especially food. I feel bad for my wife. I mean, I'm sure you guys have even seen this, that you got to make every single meal now. There's really not the option to go out. We haven't even done takeout very much. And so, but that's created a lot of time around the table for our family. And I'm so thankful for that because while we've always valued that, we've never had this consistent of time with each other. And so that's been really valuable for us, and I'm thankful for it.
How have you seen yourself and your family grow during this time?
Sure. So to be transparent, at the beginning of this was just so jarring, and I'm just by nature kind of an emotional person anyway, and I was fearful. I was very anxious at the beginning of this, of both the economics and the health side of things. My son Brooks has a medical condition that at first we felt pretty confident wouldn't necessarily put him at any greater risk for this, but the more we've read and talked to the experts on his condition, the more worrisome it kind of is. And so I've had a lot of fear related to myself and my family and that sort of thing. So that's been challenging.
What are you and the family doing to stay busy during this pandemic?
Yeah, so one of the things that's been kind of nice in our neighborhood is we've done a little bit of trading of puzzles, and there was a little bit of a concern that maybe you could trade germs that way too. But so our neighborhood's gotten into a thing with our neighborhood Facebook page where puzzles and books and those sorts of things, we leave them on each other's porches, leave them out there for 24 hours and hope that any kind of virus that might be sitting on those cardboard boxes will surely die in that amount of time. But we've done a lot of puzzles and a lot of books, and we've Zoomed with family members and with friends. We've gone to people's houses and stood on the sidewalk and talked to them with several people. And even this last weekend, we went out with some friends. They had a fire built out in their yard out in the country, and we sat on one side of the fire and they sat on the other, and just try to have as normal of a kind of fellowship time as we could.
Thank you. How are you guys staying safe, and what are some of the precautions you're taking?
So that one's been really challenging for me, trying to lead our home. My wife and I just trying to be consistent about what we do. But when it first started, of course, there's so much uncertainty and so much that we didn't know. We really, from the moment the boys came home from school 5 weeks ago, we pretty much went to our house, and my wife and I have not stepped foot inside of another building since then for 5 weeks. Including stores and that sort of thing. We've used Instacart and Amazon delivery services to get our groceries, and we even bought at an outside market once. We went through drive-thrus to get pharmaceuticals, and even switched to a local pharmacy here who would allow us to make our payment via phone, and then be able to come through and they just hand us the medicine and not have to interact as much. So we were really, really cautious at first. We have lightened up just a little bit. We went and got delivery pizza last week. That was the first time we had really done that. But we are trying to stay in. And what's important to us too is that different people are falling in different places on this, and it is a hard situation. But we just really feel it's important that if the government's asking us to do something, as long as it's not violating our principles, that we be willing to go ahead and do that. And maybe we can argue about the constitutionality of it maybe later a little bit, but as long as it's not unreasonable, and we feel that the motivation is for the well-being, whether it's misguided or not at times, I just don't know. But we're just trying to submit to those authorities and do the right thing. We do have a 80-year-old mother-in-law who we want to protect. We want to be able to take her groceries and have the best chance of not taking something to her. And so we're just trying to think of others, and that's kind of been our primary thing. It's just, let's really be focused on others and how we can protect one another that way.
I think you were definitely right when you said these are uncertain times, and you already mentioned some fears you're having, but how are you dealing with those fears right now?
Yeah, so that's been an evolving thing for me. There were nights, especially in the first couple weeks, that especially you go to bed and it's quiet at night and you're alone with your thoughts, and I just really had a weight on my chest and was unable to sleep. And I had many nights there where I would just grab my phone there from beside my bed and pull up Psalms on my iPhone app and just begin reading. There were nights that it took me to chapter 15 to get to the point where I felt like I could go to sleep and had some peace. And there were times that I was much deeper into the Psalms before I got there, and then just a lot of prayer. But then the other thing that I've done just on a more practical level is really early on I was consuming media a lot, both news media and social media. I was on Facebook a lot and just reading everybody's opinions on things just because I didn't know what to think of all of it. But I recognized a couple weeks in that the more time I spent on things like Facebook and seeing all these differing opinions, the more anxious I got. And so I really backed off, and I go once a day and just kind of get an update on the numbers from the government websites and peruse the headlines more in the middle of the day. Because if I start reading stuff later at night, it bothers me more. And so those are kind of the more practical things I've done as well that I've really found we're kind of settling into a rhythm here, and a lot of days feel pretty normal for me. So I'm grateful for that.
I definitely feel you on the not sleeping well. I haven't been sleeping very well either. I think part of that is being stuck inside and not getting out and doing a whole lot. So what are you looking forward to doing when things start to open back up?
Yeah, so Jen and I have been talking about a vacation sounds really good right now. I have a feeling vacation spots around the country are going to be exploding this summer if this virus does us a favor, if God has mercy on us, and it sort of falls apart over the summer for us, whether it's through our interventions or just warmth and sunshine. Hopefully, it'll kill it. But just also really just getting back to church. That's been, I mean, I knew that if we wouldn't get back to church for a long time, that would be hard. And I'm grateful for the technology ways that we've been able to continue to get together and hear teaching and that sort of thing. But I had no idea just how hard it would be to sit home on a Sunday morning, week after being in such a habit of going. And so I'm really looking forward to getting back to church and interacting with people one-on-one and having lunches with people and taking my kids to a basketball game. And I love big crowds. One of the last things we did was a Butler basketball game. And we were there with thousands of people, and I had no idea that night that we were a few days off from the world shutting down. It was the last Butler basketball home game. And so I'm really looking forward to that, although I'm afraid those crowd situations may be a little ways further off.
Great. And I think the last question we'll ask is, what do you miss the most right now?
People. I mean, for me, it's just really getting to interact with people. I miss my parents. My parents live in Florida anyway, but I guess the knowledge that I can't go see them, that it just wouldn't make sense right now, makes me long to go down and see them even more. And then just getting together for my Thursday morning Bible study and going to church and those sorts of things, really just spending that time with people is what I really yearn for.
That's all the questions we had, and I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to answer those for us. We really enjoyed that.
You bet. Yeah. Thanks for asking me, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on the podcast, and I wish you the best.
We'd like to thank Mr. Murray again for coming on the show. We really enjoyed hearing about how he is handling the pandemic.
I thought it might be beneficial to explain the PPP program Mr. Murray talked about. The Paycheck Protection Program is a loan designed to provide a direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on the payroll during the coronavirus crisis.
According to an article by NPR, the PPP was popular and ran out of its initial influx of $350 billion in just 2 weeks.
On Friday, President Donald Trump signed a $484 billion package. It included an additional $321 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program. The U.S. Small Business Administration's website says it will resume accepting Paycheck Protection Program applications on Monday, April 27th at 10:30 a.m.
We'll post a link to the story if you're interested in reading more about the bill. Again, if you have any thoughts, questions, or would like us to try to talk to an individual, you can send us a message on our Facebook page, Don't Breathe on Me.
Thanks for joining us this week, and we hope you'll continue to listen to our future shows.